One of the great joys of being a teacher is that you are part of an institution that tries to ensure that all young people get a great start at a successful life. Every year in June, it's a tremendous joy to watch seniors walk across the graduation stage, ready to take on new roles as citizens, as workers, and as members of families and communities. Now, for me, the greatest tragedy of schools is that there are mountains of evidence that suggest that not all kids are equally well prepared by their schooling. Systematically, students of color, students from poverty-impacted neighborhoods, LGBTQ students, and others face bias and discrimination in schools. So many teachers get into this business because we want to create a more fair and more just future for young people. And yet collectively, our curriculum, our policies, our teaching often can contribute to the rising inequality that we find in the United States and around the world. At the MIT Teaching Systems Lab, we've spent the last few years studying research on equity teaching practices, the day-to-day improvisational decisions that teachers make that can improve the lives and outcomes of marginalized students. Educators make a zillion decisions every class period. Who to call on, when to let students go to the bathroom, whether to let a discussion continue or to move on to the next topic. These decisions are based on what we see happening in the classroom or library or lunchroom in front of us. Now, there are two important mental steps happening almost instantaneously, often unconsciously, that go on between what we see and what we decide. First, we decide what to notice, what to attend to in a situation. And based on what we choose to notice, or what our biases lead us to notice, we interpret situations differently. And those different interpretations lead to different decisions. Say there are two kids whispering in a classroom. What do you notice? Does it matter if they're two boys or two girls? Does it matter if they're two good kids or two C students? Does it matter if they're two white kids or two black kids? We all have biases that affect what we notice, and that affects what we interpret and what we decide to do. We found that there are a set of lenses, like glasses that we can put on, that help us look more clearly at what's going on in classrooms. With these lenses, we can notice and interpret what's happening in ways that help us attend to the needs of marginalized students. Drawing on the work of Rich Milner and other researchers who study inequality in schools, we call these lenses educator mindsets. When we start looking at school life through these lenses, we find more ways we can be allies and advocates and effective educators for underserved kids. When we get better at seeing how biases, discrimination, and structural inequalities are negatively affecting our most vulnerable students, then we need to take action. We need to engage in equity teaching practices. There's no single script or blueprint for these decisions. There's no list of 4 things to do every day to be equitable. But there are lots of starting points, lots of footholds for this work that have been developed by researchers, experienced educators, and folks who've dedicated their lives to more equitable teaching. We're excited to share all that we've learned from their work with you. And we're excited to help you look at your classroom in new ways, find new strategies for creating a welcoming learning environment where all students thrive, and take your next steps on the journey towards becoming a more equitable educator.